In 2024, Utah has a number of constitutional amendments on the ballot. I wanted to go through these with you and share my thoughts and opinions on them. The first is Constitutional Amendment A. So to pull that up here so that you can see it, the proposed constitutional amendment states, shall the Utah Constitution be amended to allow income tax money to be used for all state needs and prioritize public education funding for changes in enrollment and inflation. If this amendment is approved, state statute will eliminate the state sales tax on food. Now, if you want to know what this one is talking about, the Utah Constitution, they show us down here, this will not be on the ballot, but this is in the notice from the Lieutenant Governor's office. The Utah Constitution currently requires that all income tax money be used here to support the systems of public education, higher education. And we recently in Utah amended this to say to support children and to support individuals with a disability. But these underlined terms are what this amendment is adding in. So it used to be that 100% of income tax had to be used for public education. And then again, we amended it a little bit ago to say, well, we can support children and individuals with a disability with the income tax. But now the state wants to be able to support any other state needs. And this comes after the fulfillment of the requirements in subsection 5B. Subsection 5B is right here. So after they meet their public education requirements, they can use the money for whatever else they want. So the question is this a good or a bad thing? Most states allow income tax to be spent for anything. The federal government can spend income tax on anything. It collects it and it can spend it. Utah in 2019, I believe, was working to implement a sales tax on services. They wanted to get more funds in their coffer, you could say, so that they had more ability to spend tax money. And what this amendment effectively does is it makes it harder for the legislature to get a diverse set of taxes from us. And so all of our state programs, governments, different things like that are run by sales tax, property tax, different taxes that they collect, different fees they collect that's not income tax. And so one reason that our property taxes are going up a lot in different areas is because they have to collect money from non-income tax locations. So again, the question then is, well, if we just give them the ability to do income tax, is that a good or a bad thing? And to spend on whatever they want? Because they did tell us, if we give them this, there's a state statute that will kick into effect that will take away the sales tax on food. Utah says, if you give us the income tax, we won't need to tax your food anymore. And again, that could be a good thing to not have a tax paid on food. But if we look at some of the past history of income tax being opened up, if we go to when the federal government opened up income tax, if you look at this is the chart. Back in 1913, the federal government was not, or I guess prior to 1913, the federal government was not allowed to do an income tax. In 1913, they said, give us the ability to do an income tax. We'll take just a little bit, just this little 1% or so down here, up to about 7% on the richest people. And America said, okay, that's a good idea. Let's give the federal government an additional tax base and let them spend it however they want. So America passed the 16th Amendment in 1913. And the income tax, the federal income tax, was born. Within just a few short years, you can see here in 1918, this is 5 years, the highest tax rate shot up to above 70% on income, with the lowest rate being above 5%. And this shot up World War I time, came back down during the Depression, and then even during the Depression, trying to pull out of it, they taxed the highest income earners still quite heavily. And then this continues up. We get to World War II, where it gets up to a sky-high 94% of income for the highest income earners are going to the federal government, with over 20% at the lowest tax bracket. So if you were the poorest person, you were paying over 20% of your income. And then this continued on and stayed, this is the average. Oh, sorry, the 11.8% is the average here, but these are showing the higher minimum rates. And this then hangs on for quite some time, through many years, until you get into the Reagan era, where they started cutting taxes to spur economics. And that's led to, up through 2008, that's where this chart goes, what we see in between 30 and 40% for the highest tax bracket here. The reason I bring this up is because if we give Utah the ability to implement an income tax and just spend it however they want, then we have to ask ourselves the question of, well, what are they going to share it on? Why do they want this? And if you look at things recently, we have the Olympics coming back to town. And if they have a huge coffer, if they can just raise the income tax 1% and have millions to billions more come in, I don't know how much that would be, but quite a bit of money, they can spend it on whatever fancy thing they want for the Olympics. They can spend it on new hockey stadiums, new sports stadiums. And I'm not sure why here in Utah we are financing hockey stadiums and different things like that for billionaires. It seems that if it were an economic thing that's good, that they should be able to raise money for that themselves. And so with how the government's been spending money lately, you also have the point development and large statues, for example. They have a statue of responsibility that is trying to get put in there. And there's all these different things that you look at and go, why do we need to spend money on these things in Utah? Maybe hockey's a good thing. Maybe a statue's a good thing. Maybe it's not. But overall, when the government has the ability to take money easily, I think history shows that they will. This was the exact issue that led the founders to get so frustrated, is that the king would just increase taxes willy-nilly. There was no check and balance on it. And the legislature right now is asking for an unfettered ability to increase our income tax and use it however they want. I personally feel that if we are going to give them the power to use income tax for things other than education, there should be a check and balance in place to say, you can't ever tax us more than X% of our income, for example. Or we still put limits in place on what they can spend the money on. I don't, again, support money going to private developments or sports or other things like that. Those are things that should be able to operate on their own without taxpayer base or money from the taxpayers. So to me, I will be voting no on Constitutional Amendment A. But again, I understand there are reasons to potentially support it. But to me, before we support something that gives the government that much power to simply take money from us and spend it how they want, I believe strongly there should be checks and balances on that. I am Austin Hepworth. I'm a candidate for Attorney General in 2024, and I believe strongly that the law should be transparent and open to all Utahns. And so I appreciate you joining me for this video. Thanks so much.